In the long, long ago, when the world was still in its infancy, and the earth was a vast expanse of wilderness, humans were like naive children, struggling to survive in the wild. The sky was like a huge dome. During the day, the sun cast its intense yet fleeting light. At night, the moon and stars looked down coldly on the world, and darkness enveloped everything, with danger lurking around every corner. There was a tribe that lived beside a broad, surging river. The river nourished the land and brought occasional fish. In the tribe, there was a young and brave lad named Asioi. He was of a sturdy build with piercing eyes, always full of curiosity about the world around him. And a flame of exploration burned in his heart. The tribe Asioi belonged to, like all human groups at that time, lived a primitive life of eating raw food. They hunted wild animals and devoured them raw, tearing off chunks of meat still streaked with blood, and stuffing them into their mouths. The wild fruits and roots they gathered were only roughly wiped and then swallowed whole. Such a diet often made people sick, with their stomachs feeling as if countless small beasts were gnawing at them, causing great pain. Moreover, every night, the darkness was like thick ink, wrapping the whole world. The roars of wild beasts echoed one after another in the valleys, making people tremble with fear. The tribespeople could only huddle together tightly, relying on each other's body heat to keep warm, waiting for the dawn in fear. Asioi often gazed at the night sky, lost in thought. He wondered, are we going to struggle in the dark and cold forever? There must be a way to change this. One day, when the tribe went out hunting, Asioi rushed to the front as usual, while chasing a hare. The hare fled in a panic and crawled into a dense thicket of bushes. Without hesitation, Asioi followed it in. Just as he pushed aside a cluster of thorns, suddenly, a flash of light caught his eye. He looked closely, and saw that it was a woodpecker pecking at insects in the trunk of a tree. Woodpecker's hard beak pecked at the tree trunk rapidly and forcefully, and each peck struck out tiny sparks, briefly illuminating a small patch of darkness. Asioi was stunned by the sight before him. His heart began to race, and a bold idea took root in his mind. Since the woodpecker can peck out sparks, can't humans also create fire in some way? Back at the tribe, Asioi couldn't wait to tell the tribespeople about this discovery. After hearing it, some looked puzzled, and some shook their heads and sighed, thinking it was simply impossible. Fire is something that only the gods can control. How could we possibly do it? An old man said worriedly, but Asioi didn't lose heart. He firmly believed that what he saw was not a coincidence, and that as long as they tried hard, humans could surely master the secret of making fire. The next day, Asioi set to work. He gathered various dry branches and withered grass, then sat in the open space in the center of the tribe, imitating the way the woodpecker pecked at the tree. He used a sharp wooden stick to drill into another thicker piece of wood. At first, nothing happened. Asioi's hands turned red from the friction, and blisters formed on his palms, but he gritted his teeth and persevered. The children in the tribe gathered around him, watching his every move curiously, occasionally letting out a few giggles. Most of the adults were busy with their own things nearby, casting skeptical glances at him from time to time. So, as the day passed, Asioi was exhausted, but the wood still didn't show any sign of a spark. His arms ached so much that he could barely lift them, but the belief in his heart grew even stronger. At night, lying in the simple thatch shed, Asioi tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. His mind was filled with the images of drilling the wood during the day. He carefully recalled the details of how the woodpecker pecked at the tree, the speed, the force, the angle. What went wrong? After a night of thinking, Asioi decided to adjust his method. Early the next morning, he came to the open space again. He picked a drier and harder wooden stick, sharpened one end, dug a small pit on the ground, and fixed the wood to be drilled in the pit to make it more stable. Then, he held the wooden stick with both hands and rotated it quickly and rhythmically. At the same time, he asked his companion to help blow air nearby to increase the airflow. As time passed, beads of sweat formed on Asioi's forehead and trickled down his cheeks. dripping onto the wood. Suddenly, a wisp of blue smoke rose slowly. Asua was so excited that he almost cried out. He quickened his hand movements and continued to drill harder. Immediately afterwards, a small spark flashed out, instantly igniting the surrounding dry grass fire. The children cheered and ran to tell others. The adults also put down their work and gathered around, their eyes filled with shock and joy. Asua carefully nurtured the hard-won fire. He added dry leaves and branches continuously to make the fire grow stronger. The flames danced merrily, dispelling the darkness around and bringing warmth. The tribespeople gathered around the fire, their faces beaming with happy smiles. For the first time, they felt the magical power of fire. It could not only provide light and warmth, but also make food delicious. Asua picked up a piece of raw meat and roasted it over the fire. Soon, it sizzled and gave off a delicious aroma. People looked at the roasted meat, hesitated for a moment, and then put it in their mouths. The tender, juicy, and fragrant taste made everyone intoxicated, and they exclaimed that it was the most delicious food they had ever tasted. From then on, the tribe where Asua lived learned to use fire. They roasted meat and fish over the fire, no longer having to worry about getting sick from eating raw food. At night, the blazing bonfire illuminated the camp, and wild beasts dared not approach easily, allowing people to sleep soundly. Asua's name spread throughout the tribe, and everyone held him in great respect, calling him Suran Shai, which means the person who brought fire to humans. In the following years, based on fire, humans developed more skills. They fired pottery to store food, and cooked delicious dishes, smelted metals to make sharper tools, and weapons used fire for lighting, making the night full of vitality. Every step of progress was inseparable from Suran Shai's initial exploration and discovery. Today, when we sit around the warm fire, savoring delicious cooked food and enjoying the bright night, we should not forget that ancient hero Suran Shai. It was his perseverance and wisdom that brought the light of hope to humanity, allowing the dawn of civilization to break.
Subscribe. Thank you.